So it's been a pretty rough week or so for Xbox, and you know what they could really use is like a W, just something to have a win. If only they had some big game or something that they could latch onto and show everybody, yes, you're frustrated with what we're doing, but we have something awesome. And here you go. If only there was something like that. Well, you see, there might actually be something like that, but the team that handles the marketing over at Xbox seems to be dedicated to preventing anybody from ever hearing about it. I'm of course talking about Hellblade, which is a game that's slated to come out on the 21st of this month. It's supposed to be out in less than 2 weeks, and basically nobody has heard a damn thing about this game. And the only thing that Xbox has done is send out the occasional tweet or retweet something else that somebody posted, and that's about it. There's been no marketing campaign for this game, and it is shocking. This trailer that's on screen right now is from the Game Awards 2019. This was the showcase to demonstrate how powerful the Xbox Series X and S were going to be. Look at what the next generation of gaming is gonna be like. Yes, it's in-engine, but still, this is what the future of gaming looks like. And that was, at this point, 5 years ago. The game had already been in development for 2 years before that. All told, it's been in the works for roughly 7 years. Is expected to be between 7 and 8 hours long when all is said and done. And despite reportedly costing hundreds of millions of dollars, especially when you factor in the acquisition cost of buying out the studio, this game is getting no love. When you look at everything, no part of this makes sense. Either they have internal metrics and they expect this thing to flop and so they're not gonna waste any money on it, or they are throwing this game out to the sharks. And listen, I'm saying this as somebody that really liked the first game. I loved the original Hellblade. I did a critique of it. It's one of like the first bigger videos I ever did on this channel. I love the original game, and I love Ninja Theory as a studio. But this small series of tweets is basically all we've seen for this game in the last month. And prior to that, there was like a preview event that IGN, for example, got to go to. And in that video, they describe it as a beautiful nightmare. They describe how it's very, very visually stunning. It is cutting edge when it comes to graphics, as you would expect. And that's reaffirmed by how they've presented this game. Pretty much all of the preview events, all of the little like developer directs that they've done, everything focuses on the fidelity, the motion capture, the performances, all of that stuff, which I'm sure is phenomenal. But as we all know, there's a little bit more to making a super high quality and well-received video game. There's all those pieces that have to fit together, and then gameplay, and it all has to be fluid and immersive, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot that goes into it. But with all that said, there's just something weird going on with Senua Saga Hellblade 2. There's just something off. Everyone started memeing on Xbox when they posted on the 8th. This is shortly after the news of all of the layoffs and everything happening. They posted a picture of Senua with the title of the game and a date, not even a link to their website to pre-order it or to pre-download it, nothing like that. They just posted a picture and everybody started joking, you know, marketing, wow, biggest promotion this game will ever get. Can't believe they also closed their marketing department. Like it boggles the mind. The day after, they did post a more fleshed out little advertisement. They posted this, a little video trailer and a little wish list splash screen and the link to it, which again is at least something. I would argue this is the bare minimum, but I guess for Hellblade, it's the star treatment. And what's really shocking is that like Xbox has done marketing before. Like they gave Redfall the star AAA treatment. That game was everywhere before it came out. Same with Starfield. Starfield was everywhere, just blown up with all sorts of advertising, both online and then also in retail settings with like big posters at GameStop and Best Buy and places like that. And Hellblade has just gotten nothing. An hour ago, I put up this poll because I just wanted to know how many of you guys had actually seen any marketing for this game outside of Xbox streams and stuff like that. And I was planning on leaving this up for a full day, but I got impatient and wanted to talk about this this game and all of this crap. So I just decided to make the video. Check on the community tab, I guess when this video goes up, see what the vote count is up at that point. But I mean, this is pretty telling. 92% of people out of right now just 4,300 votes, but I have a community that's pretty in tune with gaming, and if 4,300 people are saying that 92% of them have not seen any marketing for this game, that's pretty shocking, especially because this is supposed to be Xbox's big game for the first half of this year. There's another thing that's a little bit weird with Hellblade as well, which is that the studio co-founder and like one of the directors for the original Hellblade that I think was responsible for making it really stand out and just be cutting edge, especially for the time. That was a guy by the name of Tamim Antoniadis, I'm not sure. But this guy, head honcho at Ninja Theory, founder, very hands-on within the development of the first game. And naturally, when there's preview events for games like Hellblade, a lot of media that goes to those events are looking for the game's directors and stuff to interview them. Because it's usually in those interviews that you'll find out some of the most telling things about a game. Like when I went to that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora preview event, I got to interview the gameplay director for that entire project. And I asked him what the most important gameplay system was. What was the system he thought players were sleeping on that was gonna tie the whole game together? And he said, the cooking system. The cooking system. It was quite telling. Once I had played the game, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to come together, if the cooking system is the key to all of this. And sure enough, it didn't really come together in a beautiful pad thai or anything. It just kind of was there. Anyway, that's beside the point. The reason I bring it up is because usually at these preview events, you can interview the people that are most directly responsible for building these games out, and the creative directors and studio founders and stuff are usually there as well, and you can talk to them. However, when Forbes, IGN, and all those guys went to this preview event for Hellblade, they noticed a suspicious absence. They noticed that Tamim was not there. And there were positive reactions. People really liked the game. People thought it was really shocking and stunning. I mean, like, May cannot come soon enough. I can't remember the last time a game preview left me so excited to dive into the full experience. Like, very glowing previews, but it was odd because Tamim was just not there. And when they asked the rest of the Ninja Theory staff where he was, they just said, oh, he left the company a little while ago, which happens. Normally, it's like a red flag when an executive or game director leaves in the middle of production. Normally, that would be really concerning. But in Tamim's case, I think there's a couple of extenuating circumstances. For one, as I said, he was one of the co-founders of the studio, and Microsoft is reported to have spent $117 million acquiring the studio, and that was revealed in 2018. And what we know is that Tamim worked on the early, pre-production phase and stuff for Hellblade 2 and left shortly after, which would time out pretty well to working on it for the first year from 2017 to 2018 after the studio is bought. And then he took his tens of millions or whatever his cut was and went off and started living a party lifestyle. And I actually looked up his Instagram page, which is public. You can actually find it yourself too. And he actually just is posting pictures of him on pirate ships and partying with a bunch of girls. More power to you, dude. I mean, it seems like he is living the dream. He built a game studio, made a ton of money selling it to Microsoft, and then he left and now is just on boats partying with girls in their 20s. So props, dude. You did it. You won life. So some people have said oh, he left because he knew the game was going to be bad. I don't think that's what that is. I'm going to be honest. I think he just got a big payday and went off to party. I don't know. Maybe he'll see this video and comment below and be like, no, the game's going to suck. Or he's going to be like, hell yeah, I did. I'm living my best life. I don't know. My feeling is that he's probably just off partying because he got a big payday when they sold the studio. That being said, that's just one little weird thing in this broader bush of weird things about Hellblade 2. So frankly, putting all of it together, the departure of one of the head honchos at the studio, Xbox's seeming ambivalence towards this game, the non-existent marketing campaign, and the extremely protracted development cycle all stacks up to me to say that something is just frankly off here. I've been trying to figure it out because on the one hand, I think Hellblade 2 looks tremendous. I think graphically it looks stunning. The puzzles look super cool. The combat, while I'm sure very repetitive, just like the first game, seems to have undergone some changes and shifts to make it a little bit more streamlined and less frustrating. And I think they certainly have tackled this game with a much bigger budget and a much bigger scope, and all of that's great, but there's just something odd about it. And it all reminds me of a saying, which was never a tribute to malice, that which can be adequately explained by stupidity or incompetence. And in light of a lot of Xbox's recent decisions, I'm starting to think that incompetence and stupidity might just be more likely. So when I look at something like their complete lack of marketing for Hellblade 2, I could interpret that as, oh, it's because they know that the game's going to be terrible. It's because they know something that we don't. Their internal reviews show that this is going to be a disaster and they don't want to put money into something that's going to be a failure. We could say that, attributing it to like a malice or some sort of big master plan or conspiracy. Or it could simply be that they just don't really know what they're doing and are trying to cut costs any way they can, including with marketing for the biggest game they've released this year. And this rule of thumb applies to many, many different things. It doesn't have to just be like Xbox's incompetence when it comes to marketing Hellblade 2. It can also come out with studios releasing buggy or broken versions of games, like something like a CDPR. Like, was it this big, evil, masterminded plan to sell people a broken game? Or did the executives just honestly have no idea how broken it was because everybody around them were yes men who didn't want to give them bad news and didn't want to upset the big boss man, so they all just kept their mouths shut, and then there was a disaster as a result? In my opinion, it's more likely that it's the latter, that sometimes there's just miscommunication or dysfunction that leads to cascading effects that are much more damning and damaging to the broader enterprise. And in the case of Hellblade 2, I am worried that an otherwise great game could potentially suffer under the weight of something beyond its control. Because at this point, all of the preview events that have happened, that is to say, the one preview event that has happened, the feedback from that event was extremely positive. People thought the game looked and played tremendously well. They were super excited to see how they would actually flesh this out into a final product. And Ninja Theory has some amazing world-class talent. There is no debate about that. These guys really, really know what they're doing. And they've been given pretty much as long as they want to make this game. Almost all of the red flags for this game are coming directly from Xbox and their marketing approach for this game, or seemingly lack thereof. And this is the part that I think is really, really crucial. And if there's anyone out there that works at Xbox who ever sees this video, please listen to me, baby darling. Listen. There's an old saying in politics specifically, it goes back to a political strategist from the 80s, and the saying is, perception is reality. And the meaning of that saying at the time was that if voters think that a candidate eats puppies, that's what you have to deal with, right? Like, it doesn't matter if that's true or not true, you have to deal with that perception. If everybody sees you as a crook, you have to deal with the perception that you're a crook and handle that. Even if it's not true, people think it's true. And so you have to handle it that way. And in the case of these games and within marketing and business, the same rule generally applies. If you have a game like Hellblade that is, in fact, really, really good, it doesn't really matter if the perception is that Xbox themselves don't think it's good. They think it's bad, which is why they're not marketing. It doesn't change the fact that the game is actually really good, but you have to deal with the perception that not even Xbox believes in this game. Not even Xbox wants to spend money on this game marketing it. So why should I spend money and time playing it? You know, you have to deal with the perception. And the message that Xbox is sending to gamers about Hellblade 2 is that they don't think this game is worth spending money on marketing it. And if they don't think it's worth spending money on it, if a $3 trillion company in the form of Microsoft does not think it's worth marketing and spending money on it there, why should gamers feel like it's worth spending their own money on? And I know it's like it's Game Pass, whatever. You're still paying for Game Pass. It's not technically a free game. You are paying for it. And the real tragedy of this is that a game like Hellblade 2 could be tremendous. It could end up being a 9 or a 10 out of 10, but it could still be a commercial flop simply because Xbox has no idea what they're doing right now. It is extremely likely that Ninja Theory has been working for 7 years on a game which will not be for everybody, but that will be incredibly impressive in many, many ways. And despite despite that fact and all of the crazy amount of effort that went into its production, the game could still be considered a failure because Xbox, their parent company, was incompetent. And this brings us back to the core problem within Xbox that they're dealing with and will continue to deal with. If a studio like Tango Gameworks, they put out the best game according to critics that Xbox had last year, and they were shut down a little over a year later because Xbox didn't think it hit their targets or was dissatisfied with it or just didn't like the studio. Who knows why they closed them? They've offered many conflicting explanations of what they thought of Hi-Fi Rush and the studio and all that stuff. So who knows why it actually happened? But the perception, because again, perception is the reality you have to deal with. The perception is that if you are an Xbox studio, you can work your ass off and put out an amazing game and still lose your job. Still have your studio shut down simply because they need to trim the fat in the budget a little bit. And that is no way to create a culture of creatives that feel comfortable and confident they can pour their heart and soul into a project. That's how you create a soulless corporate machine that's just chasing revenues for quick and easy profits to boost bottom lines. That might work for Microsoft when they're pumping out Call of Duties now. That might work when they're trying to pump out, you know, the latest update to OneNote and Microsoft Teams. It does not work when you're trying to create pieces of art, when you're trying to tell stories, when you're trying to build universes for people to explore and fall in love with the characters that inhabit them. It's no way to build video games. And unfortunately, it seems like Microsoft thinks that they can run their gaming divisions just like they run the Windows 11 update team. And that is one of the biggest blunders that they could possibly make. And it could literally drive all of their creative production into the garbage disposal, because no one is going to feel confident working at Xbox now. Because even if Hellblade is an amazing 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game, it could still end up with Ninja Theory being shut down simply because Microsoft didn't market it enough and didn't support them in the way they needed to. And then they decided it wasn't worth keeping open, so they shut it down. So naturally, they're going to end up with talent that leaves. They're going to end up with people not working those extra hours that they might have worked otherwise, not pouring their heart and soul into it as much as they might have before because they don't know if it's actually going to pay off. And that is just sucky. And it's something that would be wholly avoidable if they were to look at this from outside the bubble that they are in, sitting in the corporate headquarters, evaluating budgets and spreadsheets. I really, really hope for the best with Hellblade 2, but my fear is that even if it's a great game, it could still be a failure and it could still lead to major repercussions for Ninja Theory. And that's a tragedy that would be unspeakable. I mean, it would be such a waste. And I hope to the gods of that realm that that doesn't happen. But unfortunately, it's now a possibility that everybody's dealing with. I think there's something off with Hellblade 2, but I think it's more fair to say that there's something off with how Xbox is treating Hellblade 2. And that could be because there's something wrong with the game that they see internally, or it could be Xbox just doing something stupid because that seems to be a hobby at this point. So I'm not sure, but I think we can all agree that something is weird with Xbox's treatment of Hellblade 2. And while I think the game looks really, really solid, and I think that it will probably please a lot of its more diehard fans of the franchise, I'm worried. That's gonna do it for me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like the video, hit that like button. It takes a second, it really helps me out. I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, I'm gonna go eat some dinner because I am a hungry boy. So thank you for watching. I love you. I cannot believe I just said that. Thank you for watching. I love you all. See you in the next video. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.